Welcome to Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli. Today, I have another great topic to discuss here with you folks, and I really hope that it hits home with all men and women, especially the men out there that are struggling. The topic today is women are struggling to find men that make similar money as they do. One more time, the topic is women are struggling to find men that make similar money as they do. I have a great blog I'm going to be, going over here in just a second and putting my spin on it. But before I get to that, let me just share my thoughts up front here and share a few situations I've encountered in my 40s regarding women I dated that went through this in the past. It's just very interesting. I want to share those stories. But pretty much, everyone knows that women are independent nowadays. For the last 55 plus years, women have been liberated. They got equal rights. They now have equal opportunities, equal pay for equal work, etc. And that's all great. In my opinion, I feel that is great. And for me, it has not affected my dating life with women one bit, but it has affected many others, and many other men and women have been affected by this. And I'm going to be discussing today why I feel this is happening and what you can do to overcome this. As a woman, what can you do to find a man that makes similar money? And as a man, what can you do to turn this around so you can find a good woman, right? And meet her, at her level, right? Because that's all it is. All women want is for men to meet women at their level. Women nowadays are going to college. They're getting, more degrees than ever before. They're getting 2 degrees for every 1 degree a man gets. So they're getting, a better education. They're, getting into their careers in their, early to mid 20s. And they start making very good money. And they are, becoming very responsible, adults. But it's leaving the men behind. For some reason, men are not following suit. And here's the thing. Before women were liberated, men were doing what women are now doing. And now it just kind of seems like, men are, doing the opposite, right? Okay. Men are just not being men anymore, in my opinion. They're giving up on themselves. They become intimidated, by the success and women rising up and women becoming independent. And that's what women are encountering. Okay. I'm going to share more about why this is happening as I get into the blog article here in a second. But another quick story here I just want to share regarding my experiences here in my 40s. I'm 48 years old. And, I've had several relationships in my 40s. I'm currently, dating a wonderful woman that many of you that have been following me for a while already know about. We've been creating content on my other channel, Coach Eli 2, Authentic Live Streams. So make sure you subscribe to Coach Eli 2 if you haven't done so already, and check out the past live streams we've done, and you can become a part of any future live streams that we do in the future. But, between my lady and 2 other women that I've dated in the past, okay, those 3 women all out-earned their ex-husbands when they were married. 2 of them out-earned their husbands by far. One of them barely out-earned her husband, but it still affected their marriage. And the other 2 that out-earned their husbands, by a mile, it really affected their marriage. And and one of them, it just wasn't meant to be, but the other 2 that out-earned their husbands by a mile, they gave their husbands at the time many chances to turn things around, to find a better job, to go back to trade school or go back to school and make something out of themselves. And those guys just gave up on themselves. They just couldn't cut it. They just lacked motivation, right? It's almost kind of like, the situation flipped compared to how things used to be in the traditional days. These guys were acting like the woman in the relationship, and the women were acting like the men. They were being the providers, right? And it's not that women don't want to do their part and provide their part nowadays. They want a man that's going to equally provide. It's not necessarily about, having to out-earn the woman or the woman out-earn you, but both of you bring in a similar income, and that's going to show that you're participating in the marriage or in the relationship. So let's go ahead and switch on over to the browser screen here. And let's go over this. There it is. This posting is from the New York Post. And this was actually written on September 25th, 2019. So we're looking at about almost 3 years ago. Still very, very relevant to today's age. And the title is, Women Are Struggling to Find Men Who Make as Much Money as They Do. One more time, women are struggling to find men who make as much money as they do. That's a nice little picture there. The woman's on top of the coins, and the men look so pathetic and weak, like right over here. Oh, my God. Oh, man. If there hasn't been enough shaming between men and women in the modern world already, I mean, this right here just shows it. It's like the woman is in power. She's like the man, and these guys are like the woman. It's so funny. It doesn't have to be that way. You both can participate equally and be happy, right? Just like my lady and I are. Anyway, let's read what the article states. A good man is hard to find, especially in this economy. It doesn't matter about the economy. It matters, how motivated the man is, how much he cares about his purpose, right? A good man should be focusing on himself first and becoming the best version of himself he can be, including financially. And he should do this before he even considers going out there to try to have a relationship with a woman. So economy, however the economy is going is irrelevant. A good man's going to find a way to make decent money and survive in any economy. The country is facing a crisis of broke dudes, according to new research from Cornell University, and it has left successful ladies single and disgruntled. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. The country is facing a crisis of broke dudes, because they lack motivation and they're intimidated by women that have risen up and decided to make something out of themselves. Why can't these guys just do what women are doing, right? But instead of doing what women are doing and meeting women halfway, right, which, would fix, this issue, they just give up on themselves and play video games all day and, play with themselves on the internet. Let's just put it that way. In the study published in the Journal of Marriage and Family, Cornell sociologists explored America's declining marriage rate. They discovered a lack of financially eligible bachelors. Yeah, that's the thing. Women are out-earning men. Women are outperforming men. Women have become stronger than men. And my hat's off to you, ladies. I commend you for it. That doesn't mean men should give up, but that's what's happening. There are shortages of economically attractive men, lead study author Daniel T. Lichter tells the Post. Although we like to think marriage is based on love, he says it also is fundamentally an economic transaction, and women want partners whom they can call their equals. Well, how can you have love if you can't afford to have a roof over your head and put food in your stomach, etc., right? It takes money to survive. And men, back in the days of traditionalism, were always known as the providers that women would look up to for their strength, mental and emotional strength. and their ability to provide financially, right? That's how men have always been looked at back in the days before women were able to work. And then women would take care of the household. It was a fair trade-off, and it worked quite well. But nowadays that women are liberated, and, most relationships and marriages have a dual income, guys simply just need to meet women halfway. Do your part. They do their part. It's about a man and a woman coming into the relationship, complete as an individual, and then both individuals share their completeness together, right? It's not about completing each other. It's about sharing each other's completeness together, right? But yeah, again, it's not happening. Men are just giving up on themselves. They're just so intimidated, and they lack so much motivation that they're just giving up. And a lot of times men are saying that, women get more support from the system and this and that. Guys, that, maybe in some cases, it may seem that way. But guys, you have the same exact opportunities that women do. You're just being lazy. That's the bottom line. You're being lazy and you're intimidated, right? And in some cases, many cases, a lot of these men that get together with a woman that makes way more money than they do, for a while, the woman will take care of the guy because he may be a decent guy. And then those guys get used to that, and they never learn their lesson. They never stop being lazy because the lady, in essence, is taking care of the guy and is further enabling that, right? So yeah, ladies, you got to stop doing that. And guys, you got to get your shit together. That's the bottom line. Let's continue here. Lichter, who has been studying marriage for 30 years, says the gig economy and the lack of good jobs have contributed to the dearth of well-to-do dudes. So as the fact that women are outpacing men educationally, appending the age-old dominance of the male breadwinner over the past 5 to 10 years. Yeah, I totally agree. This has become more apparent in the last 5 to 10 years, but even more so apparent in the last 5 years. And it continues to trend upward in the way of women. Women continue to rise up, and men continue to decline. It's really sad to see this. Guys, you got to turn this around. Seriously. Now it is the case that more highly educated women are marrying down, says Lichter. Men have to get with the program. Well, they're marrying down, and then they're trying to motivate their husband to make something out of himself, which, they shouldn't have to do that. Masculine energy is, being motivated to create your own stuff, to focus on your purpose and make something out of yourself. It shouldn't have to take a woman that you're with to motivate you to do things you should already be doing as a man before you even date a woman. And if a woman has to do that, it starts to turn her off. It makes you, the man, come off as weak, pathetic, needy, insecure, unstable, financially unstable, maybe emotionally unstable, maybe even mentally unstable. It displays weakness. So women in these cases have been giving men chances to turn their lives around, which they really shouldn't even do that, honestly. They should just first not get with these guys, right? But they get with them because of the shortage of guys that they really want, real men that are stable, financially and mentally and emotionally, right? So they settle for these guys, and these guys are technically called beta males. Beta mons, right? Beta mons, right? Okay? And eventually the woman loses respect for the guy, falls out of love with the guy after giving him so many chances to turn things around, and then divorces him, right? And they do that because as women get into their 30s, and their biological clock is ticking, they're trying to find anyone they can have kids with if they want kids. So in many cases, they settle for these, beta males that, are not making hardly any money. And they're just not the strong, confident alpha male that they deserve and that they're seeking. Let's see. Single New Yorker Gina, I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name, has some theories of her own about the fella famine. I find generally that dudes these days just do less across the board, says the nurse practitioner. Wow, nurse practitioner? Yeah. My lady was making really good money as a nurse, and she was not a nurse practitioner. Nurse practitioners, in many cases nowadays, especially here in California, make over $200,000 a year. Now, guys, I mean, you have the capabilities of making that much money as well. But I can see how it would intimidate you, if you're being out-earned 4-to-1 or 5-to-1, right? But you have had the same opportunities that this woman has had. She just chose to make something out of herself, and you guys haven't, right? Their parents have coddled them and taken care of them. Oh, I've been talking about this forever. This woman hit the nail on the head. And they just don't go out there and make more money. Right. And it's not just about the money, but you need money to survive, right? Why is a woman going to want to be with a man that she's out earning 4 or 5-to-1, right? That says a lot about the guy even beyond, the money he's making. If he's not able to make good money and make something out of himself financially, it's going to show how much he's lacking in all other aspects of his life. The 38-year-old Upper East Sider stresses that she's not looking for anything outrageous, safety and security as far as finances go, but she's still coming up empty on dates. Well, she's probably meeting some attractive men that are fun to be around, and she's having some great sex, but nothing to settle down with, right? It's kind of like Sex in the City. Remember that show? That's all it is, and it gets frustrating. Now she's 38 years old, probably has no kids. If that's her, that is her. She's pretty cute. She's cute. She looks good for 38, and she still has, a few years left on the biological clock. But yeah, look, this is another case of a woman, in her late 30s that's probably been trying to find a good guy throughout her early 30s or late 20s, and keeps coming up short with men that just aren't cutting it. Let's see. She says it is because the men she goes out with don't feel the innate push to succeed that she does. Yeah, these men have no drive anymore. They have no passion. They lack having a purpose. And guys, your purpose is what defines you as a man. When you have no purpose, women get turned off. Women are attracted to a man's purpose, and it's typically the man's purpose that, makes his money. This is my purpose, to help people as a coach. This is what I do for a living. I think for years, they've always just taken their role in society for granted. And I think that they're just getting lazy culturally, she says. That's because they've been coddled, being raised by, more of a feminine, role in the household. I've seen many of these. This woman's a millennial. This is the perfect example. I have to mention the millennials again, like I've been doing forever, through my videos out here on YouTube, right? These millennial men, a lot of them have been raised by more of a, masculine type of mother role in the household and a more feminized type of father role. And so what they're seeing in their household growing up, is making them, act differently because that's how they're learning to behave. These men are learning to behave more feminine than masculine. They've been coddled. They've been handed everything. They have not been taught responsibility. So what happens when they get into their 20s and 30s? They still haven't learned responsibility. They're getting jobs that pay the minimum wage or just above minimum wage. They're probably making 30, 40 grand a year doing a job that is very simple and, that they can get away with doing minimal amount of work. And even if they're offered a job to make a lot more money, they turn it down because the job that's going to make them a lot more money is going to make them have to actually work. Wow. This is really, really, really sad. Morgan Jordan, a staff administrator at South Carolina College, says she's also struggling to find a partner on her level. I don't even consider myself all that successful. I just make a living wage, and I'm comfortable, says the 32-year-old who lives in upstate South Carolina and recently paid off her student loans. Ma'am, I'm going to give you a big round of applause. Ma'am, if you just recently paid off your student loans at 32, you're doing quite well. And I'm actually proud of you. You know, I was dating a woman that was a veterinarian. She was making really good money. And she was 34, and I was 40 when I met her. And she still had a ton of student loans to pay off while she was making really good money. So hats off to you being 32 as a woman and paying off your student loans. That's pretty impressive. Congratulations to you, ma'am. But the majority of guys she meets can't say the same. We know why. We don't have to keep repeating ourselves and sounding like a broken record. These men are pathetic nowadays. Most men that I encounter, they're really underemployed. Underemployed, like I said. They're probably making 20, 30, 40 grand a year working a job that, doesn't take much effort. And they can just be lazy at work and still get paid. And even if they're offered a job with more money, they turn it down because they still want to be lazy, making less money. And they can't seem to make a living themselves, she says, adding that many are wildly in debt and intimidated by her stability. That's what I've been saying. These guys are intimidated by women's stability nowadays. Wow. When my woman sees this video, she's going to be like, wow. My woman's going to love this one, huh, baby? You can tell that some men really want to be the more traditional breadwinner, says Jordan. Well, if you want to be the more traditional breadwinner, man, you got to start making at least as much money as the women are. Because if not, they're the breadwinner. And if the woman is the breadwinner, which, hey, I'm not knocking on ladies for making a lot of money or out earning men. The bottom line is most women will not respect men that don't make at least as much money as they do. Let's put it that way. Okay? Because they're going to look at you as weak and, insecure and incapable, right? And lazy, right? That's going to turn women off. Women are attracted to a man's strength. They're attracted to a man's purpose. They're attracted to a man's ability to provide. Even though women are liberated and they're independent and making their own money, they are still attracted to men that can provide, right? My woman makes her own money. She has her own money, right? But she likes the fact that I can provide my part and I do nice things for her that no other man's ever done, right? And that's why she's attracted to me and why I'm attracted to her. Let's continue here. Boston single Jake Rivas gets where they're coming from. My prospective partner's income is something I consider, says the 28-year-old who works as a staff caregiver at a group home. Being on the lower end myself only serves to feed insecurity. Right. If you allow it to, make you feel insecure. Even if you're making 40, 50 grand a year at an entry-level job, as long as you're striving to make more money and you get there in a reasonable amount of time, next year or 2 or 3, women are okay with that. Women want to see you continue moving forward. The problem is not even that women are out earning men. The problem is men aren't even trying, right? They're not even trying to improve. That's the problem. Laziness. They were coddled way too much. This generation of millennials, it's the millennials again. This is the problem. It's the millennials that were so freaking coddled. This proves it right here. This proves I'm not talking out of my ass. I know exactly what I'm talking about. This backs up everything I've been saying for years out here on YouTube. Let's see. Graduate student Isaac Suarez says he's not turned off by a woman who means business, but he has found that his relationships tend to last longer when he makes a similar amount as his partner. Let me read that one more time for those of you or those guys out there that just don't get it. Okay? Isaac says he's not turned off by a woman who means business, but he has found that his relationships tend to last longer when he makes a similar amount as his partner. That's because it's equal, right? It's as close to equal as possible. That's all women want, guys. They want things to be as equal as possible. And even if the woman's making a little tad bit more than you, don't be insecure about it. Just keep striving to make more and better yourself, just like she's doing on her end. Wow. Insecurities, guys, are one of the biggest turnoffs to women. And women can tell if they're making more money than you, even a little more money than you are. Let's say you're making a good wage. Let's say as a guy, you're making 150 grand and your woman makes 200 grand. You're making good money, and so is she. She would be fine with that. That's close enough, right? But some men would still be insecure that their woman is making more money than them, even though they're making a pretty damn good wage at 150K when the woman's making 200. Just strive to make 200 then. Keep moving forward and don't be insecure. Okay? Don't let that affect your relationship, because that's as close as 50-50 as possible. And that's all that women want, right? I have dated women with money, and full-time professional women tend to be busier. Hang on a second. And it is more difficult to find time to spend together, says a 26-year-old who lives in Portland, Oregon. Yeah, I encountered women, in my 40s and in my 30s, that wanted to go on a date with me and wanted a relationship. And I would talk with these women by phone, and they seemed great. The problem is when I would ask them when they're free to get together, they would say, well, I'm going to be busy the next 2 weeks. And then, we can meet, 3 Saturdays from now for coffee or whatever. And that right there would turn me off, because a woman that's really into you and really wants to be with someone is going to find time to meet this guy as soon as possible and see where things go, regardless of how busy she is. And yeah, if a woman is truly too busy, then she doesn't have time to date. Then she shouldn't be putting herself out there, on dating sites or dating apps. So I get where this guy is coming from here. You just have to, quickly get to the point with these women. You gotta, if you're on an online, dating app or online dating site, you send a few messages and then you ask for her number and you set up a time to talk by phone, and you ask questions on that phone call to see, how she responds to you, to see how she excited she is about you. And then you basically say, hey, you sound cool. Let's meet, let's meet sometime soon and see what happens in person and see how they react to that. Right. If they're enthusiastic and they're truly into you, they're going to want to meet you that same day or the next day or that coming weekend as soon as possible. If they're the type of woman that says, oh, I'm going to be busy with family and kids and, work and this and that, once you start hearing that, exit stage right and go on to the next. There are plenty of other women that will give you the time of day and will incorporate you into their schedule no matter how busy they are. Let's see. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that lady's last name. Thibodeau. I can't pronounce it. Says she knows it is not necessarily a guy's fault if he's struggling financially. Well, yeah. I mean, there are some cases where, maybe a guy gets a degree and, he is having a hard time finding a job, in his field, or one that pays him a decent amount. So a lot of guys will take entry-level jobs. So I can understand that. But for the most part, there are so many things men can do nowadays with the internet around, right? And there are so many jobs out there that if they really wanted to make more money sooner, they could. They can get a second job. They can drive, Uber or Lyft. They can do DoorDash. There's so many jobs they can do to supplement their income and make more money. They're just flat out being lazy. So I kind of understand that. She's being really nice, but in my opinion, I think she's being too nice. Still, given the circumstances, she's had to devise a plan B for her future. If Mr. Right doesn't come along soon, she may just shack up with some lady friends at her professional level. I'm not even going to try to figure out what that means. And if she wants kids, I don't know if she's going to get artificially inseminated or something. I don't know, but she's politely, sharing her frustrations there, and I don't blame her. Maybe in a few years we'll move in together, she says. They're successful and I like them. So she's making fun and saying, well, if men are just giving up and all women are now successful, maybe, we should just be with women and then go to sperm banks and and just get artificially inseminated. And there we go. Yeah, this is pretty sad. This is really, really sad. All right, let's go back to full screen here. Yeah, guys, I'm going to tell you this, guys. You got to stop being lazy. You got to get your acts together. You've got to take care of yourself first before you can take care of any woman. I mean, honestly, guys, if you're struggling financially, if you're struggling to find your way and you still like the attention of women, honestly, I would be upfront about it, and I would just look for something casual, be honest with women and say, look, I'm not, I'm still working on, finding the right job and this and that. I'm not ready for something serious yet, but if you're open to a casual relationship and see how things go down the road, so be it. You got to be honest with these women. A lot of these guys that are lazy and make less money, they're still trying to get into a committed relationship and then get married to women when they're really, really not ready. Guys, stop playing those video games. Stop jerking off on the internet. Stop wasting your time creating memes, doing all the stupid, silly things that this new generation of men, especially the millennials, are doing, right? Focus on yourself. Focus on your purpose. Figure out what your purpose is and what you enjoy doing, right? And then make a career out of it. You can even start your own business on the internet nowadays. There's so much opportunity, like I'm taking advantage of here, right? Okay? If you're out of shape a little bit, get into great shape. Go take a walk each and every day for 3 or 4 miles like I do. Kick in those endorphins, clear your head, and take steps to better yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. And when you get all that taken care of, when you start to get into the cycle of loving yourself, everything will just fall into place naturally. I think one of the main reasons these guys struggle is they lack self-love and they lack self-respect. And until they learn to love themselves and respect themselves, they're not going to care enough to turn their lives around. And it's going to further continue to trend the way it's been trending, like was mentioned in this posting here. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this video here today. Another video is coming to this channel soon. Please like, share, subscribe. Bang the bell, select all notifications so that way you won't miss anything. And with that being said, have yourselves a great day. Take care. And as always, be good to each other.